Hey, how's it going everyone? MLT Magic Tricks here. So in this video, I'm going to be performing and then teaching you this really cool card trick that I definitely think you should add to your routine. But before we get into it, if you are new here to the channel, make sure you subscribe with those notifications on so you don't miss any of my videos. If you enjoy this card trick, make sure you leave the video a thumbs up and definitely check out the link in the description to my Amazon page, where I have a collection of all the decks I use in my videos, along with a variety of magic tricks and accessories. But now let's get straight into this performance. Okay, so I'm going to start off this trick by giving the deck a shuffle, just mixing up the cards from here. I would explain to my spectator that they are going to be doing something with the deck while I would be turned around. So I would tell my spectator they are going to deal between 1 and 10 cards on the table, and whichever number they stop at, they would memorize that number of cards they dealt and remember the last card they dealt on the table as their selection. Once they have memorized the card and the number of cards they dealt, they would place those cards right back on top of the deck and give the deck a quick cut to lose those cards in the middle. So once my spectator's clear on the instructions, they would go ahead and do this. I would turn around and, not be looking at what they're doing, but I'm just going to play the role of my spectator here because I don't have one with me. So my spectator would go ahead and deal cards on the table between 1 and 10 cards. So that's 5, 6, and let's say they stop at 7. They would memorize this card right here. I'm just going to show you guys the card. I don't want to look at it. Once my spectator has memorized the card right here and the number of cards, in this case 7, they would just place these cards right back on top of the deck and give the cards a quick cut like that. Once they are done, the magician would turn back around and tell the spectator that they are going to go through the deck of cards and just remove a couple cards to try and determine how many cards the spectator dealt on the table. So keep in mind here, if I was really performing this, I would not look at the amount of cards that my spectator dealt there, but I obviously did see, but I'm just demonstrating how the trick looks, and then I'll obviously teach you guys how to do it in the tutorial. So at this point, the magician would bring 2 cards on the table. They would, you tell your spectator that you're not 100% sure how many cards they dealt, but you're going to see if your spectator can assist you. So you're just going to tell your spectator to pick up one of the 2 cards. It does not matter. So let's say our spectator picks up this card right here. They would just hold on to it. The magician would lose the other one back into the deck, and the magician would have the spectator for the first time say out loud how many cards they dealt on the table at the start of the trick. In this case, it was 7. The spectator would say 7, and the magician would tell the spectator to turn over the card that they picked, and it would actually be a 7 valued card, just like this. Now, guys, that was pretty good, but remember, the spectator, also chose a card. You guys are, memorized a card earlier in the trick, so we're going to see if the deck can help us find that card. So we're going to go ahead and mix up the deck a little bit here. We'll give the cards a quick cut like that, and we're going to snap our fingers over the deck of cards. We're going to go ahead and spread out the cards right here on the table. And as you can see, if I spread out the deck face down, there is one face-up card right here in the middle of the deck. And this card should look familiar because I believe it is my spectator selection, the 3 of hearts. So that is what this card trick looks like. It's a really cool effect that is definitely going to impress all of your spectators. So if you want to learn how to perform it, make sure you stick around for the tutorial. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that performance. This is a very cool card trick that I definitely think you should incorporate into your routine. So let's get right into the tutorial. Now, the main secret to this card trick is memorizing the top and bottom card in the deck. Now, there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can go up to your spectator already having memorized the top and bottom cards. So for example, let's say to make it easier for the tutorial here, we have the Ace of Spades on top and the Ace of Clubs on the bottom. These are going to be your key cards. Because you are going to need to memorize, the top and bottom card. But if you are a little bit more advanced out there and you're, experienced with doing card tricks and you're confident that you'll be able to memorize cards quite easily and take a peek at the top and bottom cards, what you can do is make this trick completely impromptu by having your spectator shuffle the deck at the start, making it a completely no setup trick. So that's actually, a pretty cool part of this card trick. It can be completely no setup. Once your spectator's done shuffling up the deck, you tell them, as you can see here, all the cards are different. Boom, you take a quick peek at the bottom card, the 5 of Spades. You show them all the cards are different, and then you memorize the top card, the 8 of Spades, just like that. Or, as you're getting the deck back, you take a quick peek, 5 of Spades, out jog this top card, see it's the 8 of Spades, like that. So that's if you're a little bit more advanced out there and want to make this trick completely no setup, that's a way you can do it. to memorize the top and bottom cards. But for the tutorial, so we can easily follow along, I'm just going to have the 2 black aces be our key cards. Now, at this point, once you've memorized the top and bottom cards, you're going to explain to your spectator that they are going to be doing something with the deck while you are turned around and not looking. You need to make these instructions very clear, so you can kind of give them a little demonstration. You can say that they're going to deal between 1 and 10 cards. That's the range that you're going to want to do. And you can just tell them, like, you're going to deal the cards like this, and wherever you stop, you're going to need to memorize the amount of cards that you dealt. So in this case, it would be 2, and you're going to memorize the card that you, the last card that you dealt on the table. So your spectator would memorize this selection. You can tell them you'd memorize this card, something like that, so they're clear on the instructions. And then you're going to tell them you're just going to place these cards right back on the deck and give the deck a quick cut. So once you have given that little demonstration, you're going to want to place the cards back in the same order on top with your key card there on the very top. And your spectator is going to go ahead and do this. You are going to turn around. You're not going to see the amount of cards your spectator deals, which is really cool. So your spectator's dealing, let's say they deal 5 cards. They would memorize the 5th card they dealt right here. In this case, it is the 3 of diamonds. So they have memorized the number 5 and the 3 of diamonds. They're going to place these cards right back on top of the deck. They're going to cut these into the middle. Your spectator is going to tell you that they are done. You're going to turn back around. And here is the very important step in this trick. So you're going to tell your spectator, you're going to go through the deck to yourself and try and determine how many cards they dealt on the table. And you're actually going to be able to correctly find out how many cards they dealt on the table by going through the deck face up and looking for your key cards. So our key cards were the 2 black aces. You're going to go through the deck here, and you are going to come across the for your first key card, which is on top of the deck here, the ace of spades. And what you need to do is count how many cards are between your 2 key cards here. In this case, the 2 black aces. You're going to quickly count these amount of cards and then add 1. So here's what I mean by that. You're going to go through, you're going to count in your head. It's going to be quick. 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 1. That's 5. That number, once you count the amount of cards and you add 1, that number is going to be how many cards your spectator dealt on the table, which in this case, it was 5. So as you can see here, there's 1 card, 2, 3, and 4 in between the 2 key cards, plus 1 is 5. So that is how you determine how many cards your spectator dealt on the table at the start. But you're also going to need to locate their selection, which I'll show you guys where it is. It's going to be right before the second key card here, in this case, the 3 of diamonds. So what you're going to want to do is cut this card either to the top of the deck or the bottom. If you want to do what I did in the performance by revealing their selection face up in the middle of the deck, you're going to want to just quickly cut it to the bottom. So you're going to be doing 2 things here. I hope this is making sense, guys. You're first finding out how many cards they dealt on the table by counting the cards in between and adding 1, and then simply cutting their selection, which is going to be right below your second key card. That this card was on the bottom of the deck to start. You're cutting that right to the bottom. And the last thing you need to do, guys, is take out 2 value cards that correspond to how many cards they dealt on the table. So in our case here, I would just go through the deck and take out 2 valued 5 cards. So in this case, they're right here kind of near the bottom. You can take out any 2 5s. In this case, we got these 2 right here on the bottom. Place these on the table. So at this point, you're basically ready to move on with the trick and get to the reveal soon. So I hope that made sense, guys. It can be a little confusing there if you're a beginner, but that is why you want your spectator to deal between 1 and 10 cards. So these value cards correspond to the amount of cards they dealt, because if you have them deal up to 13, you'd have to use face cards here to signify numbers, and that can get a little confusing with the jack being 11, queen being 12, and king being 13. So that is why I like to have the spectator deal between 1 and 10. So at this point, you guys probably understand why you're taking 2 of the same value cards here, because whichever one they pick up, you're going to tell your spectator you're not 100% sure the amount of cards they dealt, so they're going to help you. Whichever one they pick up, you're going to tell them to hold on to it. You're going to place the other one in the deck, but obviously these are the same value cards, so that's how that works there. Don't turn the cards over yet. Tell your spectator, okay, for the first time, how many cards did you deal? They're going to say 5. Snap your fingers over the card, and boom, reveal to them that you correctly knew how many cards they dealt by the value of this card matching the number. So that is the first part of this trick, which is pretty cool. And you're going to tell your spectator, okay, you also chose a card which you did not see, but in reality, you controlled it either to the bottom by cutting it to the bottom of the deck or the top. Now, it's up to you how you guys want to do the reveal. I'm going to explain how I did the reveal in the performance there. It's a little bit on the advanced side, but you can simply, if you're already a beginner out there, before I explain how I did it in the performance, you can cut that card, to the top of the deck when you located it in the middle, you would cut it to the top, and you would tell your spectator, okay, you also chose a card. I'll snap my fingers and boom, you can see your card jumps to the top of the deck. So that's a cool way to do it. But I think a more powerful way is you have the card on the bottom. You're going to do a turnover pass. So this is the exposed view. You're going to be using your 3 fingers and your index finger here to flip over the card like this on the bottom of the deck. But it's going to be on the cover of the deck like that. So your spectator's not going to see it. It's going to be reversed. So one more time, the exposed view, you're going to flip over the card like that. It's pretty simple. Just, practice the move so it looks basically invisible. Then all you need to do, cut that right there in the middle, and their selection is now the only face-up card in the middle of the deck, and that is how you can reveal the end of the trick with their selection being the only face-up card, and I think that's a very powerful way to do it. So you guys can play around with how you want to reveal their card at the end, because you ultimately, when you're going through the deck to yourself, you are going to have control over where you place your card, whether it's on the bottom or the top. Now, guys, that's going to do it for this tutorial. I know I talked pretty fast. I just wanted to cover every component of this card trick without making the video too long. So rewatch any parts of the tutorial you need to. Just get comfortable when you're going through the deck, locating your key cards, and understanding how many cards that they dealt onto the table, and getting control of where your spectator selection is in the deck. Definitely give this trick a try. It does have a very powerful effect on your spectator. And that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for watching this video. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you all in my next one. Peace out.